Welcome to today's explainer. If you just take a look at the business world right now, it's incredibly unpredictable, isn't it? Everything's constantly shifting and the pressure is literally always on. But what if I told you there's actually a hidden secret to navigating all this chaos? A very specific, completely measurable trait that literally separates the absolute best from the rest of the pack. Today we're diving deep into intellectual intelligence, which is really the hidden key to high-performance leadership.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start by unlocking what intellectual intelligence actually means, then we'll break down its 5 drivers of success, tackle the whole IQ versus EQ debate, look at exactly how to measure your intellect, and then wrap it all up with a final verdict.
All right, Section 1, Unlocking Intellectual Intelligence. What really separates top-tier leaders?
So the source defines intellectual intelligence as the efficacy to cram, apprehend, and packed with information, which regulates how well you can unravel glitches critically. Now, in plain English, it's basically your raw processing power. And while sure, some of this is innate, you're born with it, the huge takeaway here is that it can absolutely be advanced. Just by exposing yourself to diverse concepts, you're literally upgrading your brain's capacity to make those really great, high-level decisions.
Moving right along to Section 2, 5 Drivers of Success, How IQ Pilots the Organization.
Let's just dive right into driver number 1.
Better teamwork. Now, I know you might not immediately link, raw intellect to teamwork, but thinking abstractly gives a leader this incredible ability to untangle really complex problems. And that clarity, it completely unites the staff. It makes everyone way more effective at solving issues together because it gives the whole team a super clear, logical direction to follow.
Let's keep that energy going as we move on to driver number 2, boosting self-awareness. You see, true intelligence actually forces us to look inward. It links our ingenuity and, let's say, revolutionary ideas directly to our tricky solving skills. And the source makes a really great philosophical point here. Truly understanding complex information helps you understand yourself, and that ultimately leads to a much more fulfilled life and career.
Next up is the third, and honestly, this is probably the most highly relatable driver on our list today.
The self-control attribute. So this is all about overseeing your emotions and gaining what they call pliability to hassle, basically handling the daily grind. We've all seen the exact opposite of this, right? Like leaders who just completely lose their cool under pressure in a meeting. Well, intellectual intelligence actually acts as a mental brick. It gives you the cognitive framework to just step back, logically assess a delicate situation, and actually maintain absolute control.
And that brings us right to driver number 4, facile alterations, which is basically just a fancy way of saying the ability to adapt. Let me ask you directly. How quickly do you acclimate to fluctuating loads? Like, how well do you actually handle sudden career shifts or really complex new environments? In today's rapidly changing world, having a brainy workforce that can make quick, calm adjustments is absolutely essential if you want to keep your competitive edge.
And finally, we arrive at our 5th driver of success.
Accuracy in business. This driver is completely about grooming your insights for accurate data analysis and forecasting. Having a high forecasting aptitude allows a leader to really truly understand complex data models. And by applying that intellect, leaders can make precise decisions that bring their organizations to their targets with just so much greater accuracy. So, the crucial point here is that when you look at these 5 traits altogether, better teamwork, boosting self-awareness, the self-control attribute, facile alterations, and accuracy in business, you are literally looking at the very foundation of what makes a leader truly efficacious. It's the whole package. All right, moving into Section 3, the IQ versus EQ debate, analyzing the efficacy model.
Now, let's contrast these two directly, because this is super interesting. Intellectual intelligence is the raw power of cognizance, the ability to ponder sensoriously, to think critically and reasonably. On the flip side, emotional intelligence is the ability to pinpoint and accomplish emotionally effectually. Now, both of these sound completely vital, right? But how do they actually stack up against each other when it comes to sheer leadership accomplishment?
Well, our source actually takes a really firm stance on this. The quote is, "The intellectual aspects are most efficacious in comparison with emotional intelligence." The argument here is that, yeah, while EQ certainly helps pilot affiliations and craft efficacious teams, which is great, it is ultimately the intellectual attribute that truly takes a leader on the pathway to amazing accomplishment. It's the thing that allows them to remain in a superior, totally incomparable position.
Which brings us to Section 4, measuring your intellect, the IQ test.
So how do we measure this? The answer is the classic IQ test. You see, this isn't just some abstract concept. Experts have actually crafted these tests to pool the most accurate results possible to state and measure your efficacy and intelligence level. By testing a massive range of cognition, everything from understanding brand new technologies to unraveling these super composite mathematical puzzles, it really serves as the ultimate tool to gauge your actual analytical horsepower.
And that leads us right into Section 5, the final verdict: crafting rigorous leadership. Basically, the main takeaway here is that you need to actively boost your efficacy to ponder arithmetically, metaphysically, and methodically. Your thirst for intellectual intelligence really shouldn't just end here. The source heavily emphasizes that if you have a robust willingness, this intelligence can absolutely become your baseline trait. And that is exactly what empowers you to grasp those complex concepts and make truly rigorous, high-level leadership decisions. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question to think about. Do you have the robust willingness to develop your analytical mindset and become an incomparable leader? Just take a quick second to think about your own cognitive habits. Are you actively exposing yourself to diverse notions to really level up your intellect? Well, thank you so much for joining me for today's Explainer. Keep expanding your mind, and I'll see you next time.